and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be taking a look at this album here. It's the latest brand new album by Morrissey. It's called I Am Not a Dog on a Chain. So yes, I'll just be doing the usual thing in this video, giving a bit of background information about the album, then showing you my vinyl copy of it here, and then looking at each of the album songs in detail. So this is Morrissey's 13th solo album. It follows quick off the heels of last year's California Sun, like slightly poor collection of covers. I would say that's probably one of my the least favourite albums from last year. So certainly expectations for this one weren't running too high. Now generally this album follows the same formula as his last couple of records, using the same producer Joe Ciccarelli, and co-writing the songs with members of his touring band. Kind of some pre-album hype from the producer. He said that it was Morrissey's boldest and most adventurous album yet, and that Morrissey had pushed the boundaries yet again, both musically and lyrically. And while it is probably exaggerated, I think overall this is a really strong album. And yeah, I mean, for the most part it has taken fans by surprise as to how good it actually is, because I must say expectations were pretty low after his last studio album Low in High School, which is a bit average, and World Peace Is None of Your Business wasn't very good either. So most people probably weren't expecting too much from this, but it has actually I would say exceeded most people's expectations. And commercially it seems to have done okay for him. On the midweek chart update in the UK it's sitting at number 2, so we'll just have to wait and see if it retains that position. So I wish I'd show you my vinyl copy of it here. Firstly, the cover. I hate the cover, and I think it is a pretty a pretty awful blurry picture of him. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just a bad cover. I think again California Sun had a pretty awful cover, so did Low in High School, and yeah, his recent album covers really haven't been too great, and this one sort of continues that. The back of it looks a bit better, just this kind of burnt out building and the track listing, and you get a lyric insert with this one, which is quite good to have, especially for Morrissey. He's very lyrically focused, so that's that there. And then you've got this insert the inner sleeve, which has all of the musician credits on it, so you can see who's played on each track. And the record label looks like this. It is quite a thin vinyl for a new release. I think it's only about I'd say about 140 grams, if that, at all. But yeah, it sounds alright. And this is on the Etienne label. So yeah, that's the vinyl record looked at. Okay, so I'll now go over each of the songs on the album. I'll score each track out of 10, and then use those scores to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. If you're gonna run home and cry, then... So the album kicks off with a song called Jim Jim Falls, which musically is really, really good. You've got a really good funky drum pattern on it, very contemporary electronic sounding backing, but lyrically is where I have issues with this song. Because Morrissey kind of on this track, it sounds like he's very much advocating the subject of the song killing himself. He sings if you got to kill yourself, then save face and get on with it. I mean, it's a very far cry from the sort of the comforting and emotionally sensitive tone he took on many classics such as Asleep and I Know It's Over. I mean, yeah, he probably is singing in a different persona on this song, but lyrically it seems very ham-fisted and seems very being controversial for the sake of it. But in terms of music, it is really good. Again, I like the melody on it, the production on it's really good. I just wish it had some slightly better lyrics on it. So yeah, Jim Jim Falls would get a 7 out of 10. Love is on its way out. Love is on its way out. Next one up is called Love Is On Its Way Out, which I really like. This one I think is a very interesting track, good production on it, and lyrics about how love and compassion all missing from today's modern world. He sings did you see the sad rich hunting down, shooting down elephants and lions. I mean, maybe the chorus is a tad repetitive. He sort of repeats that line love is on its way out, love is gone and it's on its way out is basically the chorus. But musically, there's enough going on to keep you interested with the really sort of creative backing vocals on it, plus the more intense bridge. It really has a lot of tension and energy in it, this song. So yeah, I would overall give it a 9 out of 10. I think it is a pretty strong track there. Bobby, don't you think they know? Next Up was the lead-off single from the album. It's a song called Bobby, Don't You Think They Know? And yeah, I must say, when the song first came out, it didn't really strike me at all. Like, I kind of played it once ago, I was like, yeah, it's alright. But in the context of the album, it really comes alive, this song. You've got, like, the addition, like, of, like, soul legend, Thelma Houston, like, sings, like, with, like, Morrissey, like, on this track. And she gives the song a very nice feeling, a much more dramatic, like, sort of tone to it. And, like, a voice that blends very, very well with Morrissey's. Lyrically, it's about a kind of like a rock star, like who gets against like drug problems. And yeah, I mean the song is a bit long. It is. I think it almost reaches a 6-minute mark. But there's enough going on like in it, like to keep it like interested. So overall, like I would give it a 8 out of 10. I mean, it's not one of my absolute favourites on the album, but it is a good song.
I am not a dog on a chain.
Next up is the title track, I'm Not a Dog on a Chain, and it's a kind of this sort of low-key like rockabilly shuffle, like which I've read like some reviews of some people comparing this to the Smiths track Vicar in a Tutu and stuff like Nowhere Fast and that. I mean, it has got a kind of lightness of touch to it, sort of missing like from like his last few like very overblown albums. But for me on this one, like why it doesn't score like quite as highly is again the lyrics. He seems to be, it's too much like self-pity like on this one. He sings like, I don't read newspapers, they're troublemakers, and I may be skinned alive by Canada Goose because of my views. But he does put in like a very assured vocal performance. Again, it is just that kind of like that like self-pity like sort of tone like to like the lyrics, at which like I'm not crazy about. But musically, it is quite nice. Like kind of just what we need like coming after the very dramatic like Bobby, Do You Think They Know? So yeah, that one would get a 7 out of 10.
What kind of people living?
Next up on the album is called What Kind of People Live in These Houses. And I mean, yeah, like if like there's a like kind of like a stereotypical Morrissey song title, like that would be it. But this is, I think, one of his best songs in years. I mean, it carries on again that kind of lightness of touch and like the subtlety, like which like I was talking about again like the last song, with very breezy like acoustic guitars, but also like very contemporary sounding like so like electric guitar touches. Really reminds me like of like the DMAs, like this song, like their like kind of style like of like music. And like lyrically, like it's quite good, this one as well, kind of about like the upper classes, like and like their like lavish houses and like lifestyles. And yeah, I just really love this song. I can't really find like any fault with it, so I would give it the full 10 out of 10 because I do think it is a strong track.
Come to this knockabout.
Next up is called Knockabout World, which is one of the other singles from the album. And again, this is an instantly catchy song with again a good like electronic bass like musical like arrangement, but also like some really cool like brass parts in it as well. Again, lyrically, is the downfall with this track, where Morrissey playing like victim again, like to like the press. He sings like, congratulations, you have survived. He sings it like very like Riley and like sort of like and like yeah, it just doesn't really like work like for me like this one, like in terms of like the lyrics. But musically, he's showing a lot of like creativity to it, and a lot of like synthesizers coming in, like yeah, it's just sort of like pushing the boat out like a little bit, like from what like we're used to, but like remaining kind of sort of like playful, like in like the music department. So yeah, I do like overall think it is a good song there, so that one would get an 8 out of 10.
Why can't you give me some physical love?
And then we flip over the album and we get another favourite of mine. It's called Darling, I Hug a Pillow, which is, yeah, another cracking song and great lyrics on this one about kind of like longing like to have like a partner, like Anna exclaims like on like the chorus, like, why won't you give me some physical love? And yeah, he sings it really well. Production wise, again, is very interesting, sounds very fresh, and musically I like that. I like the little horn riff like what comes in. Like at first I didn't quite think it fitted, like, but it has grown on me like quite a lot. Like I read that it was inspired like by sort of like kind of like Mexican music and like that. Like I mean, like yeah, it's got like quite a big like fan following down there, so maybe like just a little homage like to that. But yeah, I think works like really well. Maybe towards the end it goes on a tad too long, like the outro bit. But certainly like for the most part, really reminds me like of like kind of like the freshness and like the vibrancy like of like his like sort of like his early solo singles and B-sides, which is quite high praise indeed. So yeah, and Darling, I Hug a Pillow would get 9 out of 10 from me.
I walked with my grandmother down on
Next up is probably my favourite on the album, and it's called Once I Saw the River Clean, which is a really good song. This it's kind of got a kind of very like Depeche Mode like style like backing like on it. Like I think like again like great sounding synths on it, like very 80s, very retro sounding this one, but then also great like acoustic guitar and like violin textures as well. Lyrically, it's kind of seems to be about like childhood memories. Like at one point, like he sings like at one point like he mentions like walking like with like his grandmother like to like the record shops, like to I think like Demand Metal Guru, like he says, like a reference like to like the T-Rex song. And yeah, I just think it's a really great song, and I would give it a 10 out of 10. I just think it's a great mix of great lyrics, great production, great vocals, just everything comes together so well. So yeah, that one would get a 10 out of 10.
the truth about Ruth.
Unfortunately though, this is where the album does take a bit of a nosedive with a couple of quite bad songs, unfortunately. The first of those is called The Truth About Ruth, and yeah, not a great song. This is a very dull ballad, this one, with very weak lyrics, and it's the first sort of real sort of pretentious song like on the album. You've got sort of like kind of twiddly piano playing on it, there's sort of like this Latin style musical backing, but just doesn't really work. Thankfully, it is pretty short. It doesn't. I think it's just shy of like 3 minutes, like this one here. But yeah, it is just a bit dull, very forgettable, and yeah, I would give it a 4 out of 10.
Like a sudden spell of
Next up is called The Secrets of Music. And yeah, this one is probably even worse. Like I'm giving it a 3 out of 10, but I'm even now thinking that might be too generous. It's just a really dull song. This lasts over 8 minutes, where Morrissey basically plays like the Music Man on this one, kind of talking about like different instruments. So he sings about like sounding like out of tune like and stuff. I mean, it ends with a really sort of boring, floody like a feedback guitar, like on like these sampled voices. I mean, it is just a real bore. Like this song's a real drag. So yeah, that one would get a 3 out of 10. It's just a real, it just really starts to let the album down a bit.
now my hurling days are.
But thankfully the closer somewhat redeems things, but it's still for me not quite as brilliant as some of the stuff on the first half of the album. It's called My Hurling Days Are Done, which is, yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, slightly better closer, but yeah, still not quite as good as some of the earlier tracks. It features a children's choir like on this one here, and lyrically it's kind of about aging. He sings like time will mould you and craft you, but when you're looking your way, it will slide up and shaft you. And yeah, I mean, it's not a bad closer. Yeah, just for me, would get a 6 out of 10, one of the more average ones on the album. Okay, so overall this album would score 74%, so I do think this is a solid album here from Morrissey. I can't really say that where it compares to some of his other albums, because I've not really done too many Morrissey reviews. I think the only other one I've done is Your Arsenal, which got something like 86 or 87%, so yeah, it's not in that league, but it is a pretty good record like for like 21st century Morrissey. It's just painful though that it does go from the sublime to the very crap very quickly. I mean, like the first, like say like 2/3 of it are really good, and like yeah, like it's probably like his best material like of like the 21st century. But it's just the last couple of tracks which do start to let the side down. And generally, yeah, I think his last few albums, Low in High School and World Peace especially, have been very overblown records, both like sort of like bombastic music and like sort of like controversial like lyrics, like when he tries to tackle very big like political subjects. Whereas his roots, he sort of come from being, I would say, one of the great writers of pop songs, like in the 80s, because like that's essentially like what like the Smiths songs like were, like a lot of like the singles. They were just great quality pop songs, and I sense with this album some of that simplicity like is starting to come back like into like his music on stuff like what kind of people live in these houses, and houses like, and like the title track like as well. But then he's also like on points this expanded his sounds, like using more like electronic sounds, and like so like the like arrangements like have become a bit more adventurous, I think. And yeah, I think that it works. Like when this album works, it really does work very very well. It is just, yeah, like I said, painfully like inconsistent and like tails off quite badly towards the end. But yeah, it certainly did exceed my expectations, but I would like to know what you think of this album down below in the comment section. And yeah, I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.